right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. Big things happening in 2026. All right, that's the spirit. Okay, and we're going to circle back to this article a little later. But this is from AmericasFirstReport.com. The headline reads, it says, war is one of the most important major trends to watch during the next several months. Okay, because we see that the spirit of war is escalating. Okay, NATO is at war with Russia right now. Okay, you have the small hats advancing into Gaza. Okay, the genocide of those people, the further takeover of that region, that land. Okay, so these are things that we're going to pay attention to in the next several months. All right, the economy, the pushing of the MOTB, all those various things. Right now, before we come back to this, I want to get into this lesson here, going into hate, war, and persecution. All right, because we understand through the spirit that we're gonna be tied to the madness and confusion that's going out through America right now. Okay, the psyops, the false flags, and what they deem as radical extremism. Okay, for the sake of the doctrine in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, and we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Right, real quick. This is Ephesians 6:10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. See that? So this devil, this Edomite, man, this system is getting ready to come with all types of wiles and deceptions, man. Okay, unjust laws, things of that nature. All right, so let's play this and we'll get into the spirit here, man.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
See? So they're getting ready to come. Okay, Revelation 12:12. All right? This is Revelation 2:10. All right, dealing with that persecution. Okay, they're going to send law enforcement against anybody that's targeting people with hate speech. All right, and this is all done in the name of Charlie Dirk, right? Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried. And you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. All right, so this is all part of the straight gate, man. Okay, as I said, we understand that we're going to be tied and linked to what they deem radical extremism. All right, more psyops and more madness that's being pushed out across the board, man. Okay, and I want to bring this out. We were talking about this at the Wednesday camp. All right, but this is what it was all about. All right, I put in the Gronk here about how pretty much CK, who got his TV turned off, okay, on how he became a scapegoat for free speech, right? So I just want to read this real quick, because this is everything that we see taking place now, all right? It says how CK's death became a scapegoat for free speech restrictions, right? It says that the scapegoat, quote unquote, framing refers how Kirk's killing has been invoked to justify a rapid escalation and speech policing. Okay, that's what it was all about. Okay, it says, because I saw something posted about the left, they have something called cancel culture. Now the right has something called consequence culture or something like that. Okay, but it says Kurt's killing has been invoked to justify a rapid escalation in speech policing, often under the pretext of preventing hate or incitement. See? It says that could lead to more violence. So that they can say, because of what you believe or because your doctrine is the reason why this person did such and such against, so and so. Okay, that's the narrative that they can use. Okay, because of what you said, what you believe in, your doctrine promoted or prompted these people to commit these acts of violence. This is why, again, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, right? But it says, critics argue that this selectively targets dissenters while eroding First Amendment protections, turning a tragedy into a tool for conservative enforcement speech codes. See? Key ways that this was unfolded include, number one, mass firings over social media posts. And this has been happening for days since the CK incident took place. Okay, people are being fired left and right. They got a whole database created to those that are speaking out negatively against what happened to CK. Okay, that as we talked about, the social credit score system. Mass firings over social media posts. In the days following the shooting, numerous individuals, teachers, students, and public employees were fired or disciplined for online comments perceived as insensitive or celebratory about Kirk's death. For instance, educators in Florida and other states face backlash for posts criticizing Kirk's politics. Right, because when you watch his videos, okay, he was shitting on you niggas, man. Okay, pushing that Edomite first spirit, that American, make America white again spirit. But the moment Jake want to say something, all right, they're showing you that, look, you don't have any right to say so, and if you do, you're getting fired. Okay, this is why we implore you believers to be salty, to move with wisdom online, man. It says, with school boards citing the need to honor his memory and curb diversive rhetoric. See, these are the talking points they're using. Legal experts note that while private employers can fire for speech, the wave of public sector actions raises First Amendment concerns, especially when tied to political views. See, this has been described as a free speech crackdown, where the emotional weight of Kirk's assassination is used to normalize punishing protected expression. See that? So your so-called freedom of speech is out the window, man. And they're showing you by disciplining and firing you for what you say against about what happened to him. It says White House Republican push for rhetoric controls. Okay, he was sacrificed for rhetoric controls. Salakia, I'm beating that word up, right? But this is what it was about. The Trump administration has explicitly linked Kirk's death to broader threats of left-wing extremism, all right, which we're going to be tied into all of that, using it to advocate for new guidelines on online speech. The White House has targeted groups like progressive activists, media outlets, threatening investigations into rhetoric that incites violence, all right? And like I said, they can say that the doctrine that we teach incites violence easily. FBI Director Kash Patel, during Capitol Hill testimony, condemned political violence, but also signaled support for monitoring harmful speech, framing it as a direct response to Kirk's killing. Republicans in Congress have proposed bills to expand hate speech definitions, okay? Because those hate speech definitions are broad, man. Arguing that unchecked criticism of figures like Kirk contributed to the assassination despite no evidence linking to the suspect's motives to specific online discourse. You see, but this is the beginning of it. Okay. Let me see. Let me read a little bit more. It says, we'll read this last part here, and we'll get back to the scriptures. It says, number 3, debates on First Amendment limits. Organizations like the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, have warned that, you quote, you can't fire your way to free speech, highlighting how post-assassination punishments erode protections rather than enhance them. Online reactions, including memes or blunt opinions about Kirk's controversial stances, examples given on election denialism or campus conservatism, had led to doxing and job losses, right? Testing the boundaries of what constitutes protected speech versus colloquial commentary. First Amendment scholars emphasize that even offensive speech about public figures is safeguarded, but the tragedy has created a chilling effect, while with conservatives arguing it's necessary to protect democracy in the wake of the killing. Right, so they can use that. Okay, we gotta stop what people are saying to protect democracy and all these other excuses that they're using. But again, this is the time we in. All right, this is Luke 21:10. It says, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And all these things are happening now, okay, within America and outside of America. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, famines and pestilences and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. The point, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you. See? Delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, for the name's sake, for the doctrine of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. These things are on the table. Okay? Jail time, imprisonment, man. Okay? Being fined. Okay, being brought before the kings of this world, man, before the rulers, the governors, man. Okay, for Yahweh's sake. And it should turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries should not be able to gainsay nor resist. And this is why these things are happening, man. Because ultimately, this devil can do nothing against the truth, but before the truth, man. Okay, so look, now it's like, look, we can get you now for what you say, what they deem as harmful rhetoric. Okay, hate speech. Okay, Amos, because this is part of the fight. This is the straight gate again, in which we are beginning to enter into. Amos 5:10, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Right. This is talking about the prophets, man. Okay. They hate the fact that their kingdom is being pronounced for destruction, man. That his society is falling. Okay. That he's going down. Okay. We had the upright conversation. They want to get rid of that. But now they have to play these games, as we were talking about. They have to play that villain role, that victim and villain role, okay, to really push what they really want to do. Okay, because in the irony of all of this, right, as we said before, all right, just bringing this out too again, this is from the 404media.co. It says Department of Justice deletes study showing domestic terrorists are most often right wing. See that? He can't get away. Okay, this is the man of violence, right? So she's talking about, what did she say? She's talking about, we will absolutely target you and go after you if you're targeting anyone with hate speech. So as she's saying this, okay, hey, the so-called white man is in the forefront of all the violence that's going on in America, man. But as we see the shift, as we talked about, is being put on Jake. Okay, most of everything that's going on, dealing with the domestic violence is most often right wing, and they try to delete this the study. Okay, these devils are through, man. It says the Department of Justice has removed a study showing that white supremacists and far right violence continues to outpace all other types of in domestic violent extremism in the United States. So when you Edomites is talking about, white man, stand up and fight against who? Okay, your own damn self. Okay, you're in the fourth. You're really, when it comes to the stats, okay, and the statistics and surveys. Hey, you're the ones that's the Hall of Fame of this shit, man. Okay, and the rest reads on. Okay, so I can't read the rest. All right, but you get it. All right, again, this is the man of violence. Let's get that. Okay, this is who he is. This is Psalm. Let's go to that. Psalm 140 and verse 1. And it reads, it says, deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. That's the Edomite, man. Which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. And that's what's going on, man. Okay? Them being, the so-called right wing being the most, the domestic tease. Okay? The violence that's going on in the land, the trafficking of kids. Okay? All this madness that they won't give account of, man. But at the same time, okay, they're trying to, find a way to blame Jake for it all. Okay? So again, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. Hey, shit is getting ready to go down. All right, things are most definitely heating up, right? It says, Psalms 143, they have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Salah. Okay? Keep me, O Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent men who have proposed to overthrow my going. See? The proud have hid a snare for me, and cords they have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Salah. And this is all part of the traps. Okay? What Pam Bondi said, what they're getting ready to do, the bills that they're passing. Okay? It's all for that purpose, to shut anybody that's speaking the truth down. Okay? Isaiah 29 and 21, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. See? And turneth aside the just for a thing or not. Let's read that in the NLT. Same verse. Isaiah 29 and 21. NLT. Those who convict the innocent by their false testimony will disappear. A similar fate awaits those who use trickery to pervert justice and who tells lies to destroy the innocent, right? So that's what it's all about. All right? A way to condemn the righteous, right? Ooh, let me get that in Psalm 94 as well. All right? To condemn the innocent blood, it says, right? So we know what this devil is up to, man. Okay? We're just preparing you believers to get ready to go through the battle, man. To put on the whole armor, to be fully equipped, all right, for war. This is Psalm 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? See? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. You see? So it's really, as we talked about, all these things that they're talking about are going to translate to the Israelites, man. Okay? All these bills and laws and the hate speech narrative, all of that, man. Okay? This is Psalm 73. In verse 6, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covered them as a garment. All right, he's that man of violence. Violence covered them as a garment. Okay? This is his nature. All right, Proverbs 4:17, for they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. This is what's going on now. This is why you got the troops being deployed, National Guard, ICE, Okay, they're ready to make war with Jake. Okay, you got the what you call it, the policing of speech online. For anybody that's speaking out against the small hats, CK, the narrative that the government wants you to believe, So there you go. Right? Let's see what this last part says. It says, in essence, while Kirk himself was a vocal champion of unrestricted speech, his death has been co-opted as a symbolic justification for selective censorship. See? This has fueled partisan divides, with some viewing it as rightful accountability for, quote, toxic language, and others as hypocritical overreach by those who previously decried cancel culture. The situation remains fluid and with ongoing legal challenges to the firings and calls for federal intervention. Yeah, that's it. Right? Let's get some more. Yeah, we talked about this, the violent men and men of violence, man. Okay? Yep. Jeremiah 51:46, unless your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that should be heard in the land, a rumor should both come 1 year, and after that another year should come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. So that's going on now. Egyptian versus Egyptian. All right, the divide amongst, the so-called, Republican and Democrat, red versus blue. All right, the left versus right, Ezekiel 7:11, violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. None of them shall remain, nor of their multitude, nor of any of theirs, neither shall there be dwelling for them, right? So violence is getting ready to consume this land, right? Ezekiel 7:23, make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence, all right? And that's the turnout for Babylon as we see it, man. Okay? So again, the persecution is at the doorstep, all right? John 15:18, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own, but because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. And we expect that, man. Okay? Remember the word that I said unto you, that the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. All right. So as we read, the servant is not greater than his Lord. Okay. So we see it, man. It's the point. We see how we're going to be tied into, again, the psyops and false flags. Okay. The radical extremism and all of that. Okay. So let's move on to my next point. Because again, we're talking about the hate, war, and persecution. All right. And like Elder Apostle Tahar said, he sees big things happening in 2026. All right. But coming back to this article here. Okay. Again, from the America's First Report, war is one of the most important major trends to watch during the next several months. Okay. And when you go through this article, it talks about what I had listed. All right. Dealing with number one here. All right. With the expansion on Gaza. Okay, and this war with the small hats, tens of thousands. So this is about 9 hours ago. Tens of thousands forced to flee Gaza amid Israeli escalation. All right, more escalation of what? Of war. All right.
Military is systematically targeting dense. Good to see you. The Israeli military is systematically targeting densely populated neighborhoods in northern Gaza. Its aim is to make Gaza City the last urban center uninhabitable. Several residential buildings south of the city have been bombed on Friday. Busy civilian areas have been hardest hit in Israel's large-scale ground offensive. At least 21 Palestinians have been killed in attacks across the Strip on Friday. Well, in just 2 days, the Israeli army has forced nearly 40,000 Palestinians out of northern Gaza. That's according to the United Nations monitors who've been documenting the mass expulsion. People often come under attack while they are heading south. And even when they're in areas that the Israeli military has designated so-called safe zones, like Al-Mawasi, they're bombed there too. Hani Mahmoud is live for us from Al-Nusayrat in central Gaza. Hani, and the steady exodus of people from Gaza City continues unabated. Hani, what are you seeing and hearing there?
Niamh, we're seeing more people making their way to central and southern part of the Strip. Very exhausted, very tired, very traumatized of the experience they have. We can't help but hearing all the time we are here, hearing people talking about the horror that they experienced as of last night and early hours this morning as they literally ran for their life. We're seeing them carrying whatever their hands were able to catch any of their belongings in their home before they were bombed and before the explosive robots were detonated near their areas. They are making it very difficult for them to move. Now, more of the urban side of Gaza City, the center part of the city center, more of the densely populated neighborhoods came under heavy artillery and a mixture of the airstrikes and the drone attacks, let alone the quadcopters that are being deployed at a very dense number in between buildings and neighborhood and displacement sites, just casting fear, panic among the displaced families who have no other choice, no other alternative. Central and southern part of the Strip are not safe zones for people. People are hesitant. People still are not making the decision. The remaining, whoever remained in Gaza still cannot make up their mind of coming to Gaza City because, you know, there is death, there is destruction, there is devastation from what they heard from their family members, from their neighbors, from people that they knew moved already to central Gaza and described the situation for them. They became less and less discouraged. What you see on the road here, much of the exhaustion and much of the difficulties. What caught our attention just the past couple days, we've seen one person who kept moving forth and back, carrying the remaining of his belongings from Gaza City. And we managed to catch this person and we want to talk to him just to tell us, give us a bit of insight of what's going on in Gaza, to tell us a bit more on the journey he has been taking for almost a week. It's not just the past couple of days when we've seen him, but he has been moving for over a week. This is a displaced Palestinians from a Sheikh Radwan district, Nizar, who's been going on forth and back, carrying the remaining of his stuff. Nizar, yatik al-afia.
Nizar, thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, so, you know, we already know what's going on as we, you know, brought it out in the last lesson. You know, guy from Secular News was going into the sniping of children, okay, towns being blown up, all right. So this devil, he's showing no mercy, and that was the plan the whole time, to pretty much cleanse the land, okay, so they can take over the entire land, man, all right. But as the scriptures say, as he showed no mercy, right, he's not going to receive mercy, right? This is James 2:13. Okay, James 2:13, for he shall have judgment without mercy, that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment, right? And see, this is the time, as we're talking about, you know, Esau has now, you know, he's realizing that now he's the, you know, the problem, and now he's playing the victim because, hey, the world is beginning to stand up, as we talked about, man. You know, these things are being called out, okay? So we're seeing it all, you know, transpire to total chaos. Okay, Ecclesiastes 3:8, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace, man. So this is what we're talking about here, man. Okay, because this whole situation that's going on anyway, okay, is going to cause for you know, to Russia to get involved. All right, in America, at the least of the flock should draw them out. Okay, you have the dragons of Arabia that are being raised up in that region because what's going on right now. Okay. Jeremiah 15:45, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, that have taken against Babylon and his purposes that he had proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he should make their habitations desolate with them, right? So this is the time where America is going to be drawn into nuclear war. Okay? America and Israel, you know? At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. Right. So, because when Babylon when Babylon falls, the whole world is going to rejoice. It's going to be heard around the world. Here's some more. Okay. NATO countries downing Russian drones over Ukraine to mean war with Russia. Let's play a little bit of that as well. Because what we're talking about, war is one of the most important major trends to watch during the next several months. All right. Hey, this chip can be pushed quick. Okay. Because before nuclear war takes off, they got to push that chip. Okay.
Well, earlier this morning, the Russian military slamming targets in Kharkiv, air raid sirens across Kiev. This comes as Russian President Putin has declared that NATO is officially at war with Russia, something we've been saying for years on this show. Not sure exactly why Putin hasn't wanted to admit it until today, but it's been pretty obvious to all of us that have been watching this that this is a NATO proxy war against Russia. Meanwhile, President Trump flying to the EU, and as he was leaving, he told reporters that Zelensky needs to do a deal with Russia right now. And he said he'll have to sit in between Putin and Zelensky because they hate each other. Watch.
You know, those are two people, Zelensky and Putin, that hate each other. And it looks like I have to sit in the room with them because they can't sit in the room together. There's great hatred there. But no, that meeting accomplished a lot.
And this morning in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's enemies are America's enemies and that Qatar and China are preparing for an attack on Israel. So I'm sure we need to probably do what Netanyahu tells us to do like we always do.
Yeah. So that's what we just talked about. At least the flock should draw them out. Hey, America's getting ready to be drawn into this thing. Okay? Bear with me.
Go to war with both of them.
Great.
Right now, listen.
And we will have to do.
Hold on, let me play that back. Bear with me. All right, let's get this going.
Who tells us to do like we always do and go to war with both of them.
Great.
Right now, listen.
And we will have to do several things to break loose from this siege that is organized by a few states. One is China, and the other is Qatar. And they are organizing an attack on Israel, legitimacy.
Okay. Colonel Douglas McGregor. Always.
We made some new enemies, Colonel.
Yeah.
Here
Not
we go.
surprising. It's China and Qatar now. We need to take care of them, but we'll get to that in a second. Colonel, great to see you.
Hey, good to see you both.
All right. What do you make of, first, let's talk about Russia here. President Putin saying that NATO is at war with Russia. President Trump flying there now. I don't know if what sort of peace agreement he's hoping to put in place, if anything, at this point, on his trip to the EU. I don't know if Zelensky's going to show up there. They're going to have a meeting. But we were supposed to have peace. We were told within 24 hours of President Trump taking office. This is descending now into the fall, going to get cold, freezing temperatures now on the battlefield. Where do you think things stand now?
Well, I think things are pretty much what they've been for several months now. The war is lost. The Ukrainians have been largely annihilated. The sad part is that President Trump doesn't seem to be aware of that. He continues to repeat these utterly fictitious numbers and assessments that I guess he gets from the intelligence community, which is part of the problem. I don't know, but I mean, the notion that I think he made a comment yesterday, well, 8,000 men died in the last month. And of course,
bear with me.
Most of them were Russian, but still it's bad. You know, the Russians have been taking losses in single and double digits now for several months. The Ukrainians are losing thousands of people every week. This is just a slaughter. And I don't know why President Trump doesn't recognize that and simply state the facts. The facts are Ukrainians have lost this war. Now, he can continue to rely on General Kellogg for fictional numbers, which is what he appears to be doing. But even worse, he can conclude that Russia is losing, according to General Kellogg, because The Russians haven't marched into Kiev. The Russians haven't crossed the Dnieper River yet. It's a rather bizarre logic. There's never been any understanding in the West of certain things. Number one, President Trump has never recognized Russia's legitimate security interests in eastern Ukraine. He doesn't seem to understand that once we staged the coup in 2014, the war in Ukraine against Russians began almost immediately. And that war continued to rage for years until finally the Russians said enough is enough and intervened in eastern Ukraine. If you can't agree on the truth of what is actually going on and what has happened, how can you reach an agreement? In other words, if you come into this discussion with two separate sets of facts, what are you going to get? And the answer is nowhere. So I don't see President Trump coming out with anything. The other thing is that we're not in a very strong position because, as you pointed out, Clayton and Natalie, earlier, we have led this war against Russia. All you have to do is go back to Biden. And now President Trump sounds just like Biden. Biden said in March, we've got to break Russia. It's not enough to harm Russia. We have to break it, destroy its economy. You know, we've got to rubble the ruble, remember? And then ultimately we've got to get rid of Putin. Good Lord.
There you go, man. So, again, what more can we say? Prophecy is what's happening. It's going down. Isaiah 13. Real quick. Isaiah 13 and 4, it says, the noise of the multitude in the mountains like as a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. All right? NATO, Russia, China, Israel. Okay? And the alarm of war. Right? It says, in the tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua of hosts, muster of the host of battle. It's the Lord, man. Okay? Big things definitely happen in 2026. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. That whole land is America, Babylon. How ye, for the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua is at hand, it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty, man. All right? So yeah, time is running out. All right, so yeah, I pray that this lesson was edifying, man. Just the time and season, hate, war and persecution. Okay? Shalom to the next one. Shalom.